In the wake of Donald Trump's attempted takeover of Washington, D.C., Republican governors have made it clear they're not only happy to support it, they can also lend a hand. 3 Republican-led governors, Patrick Morrisey of West Virginia, Henry McMaster of South Carolina, and Mike DeWine of Ohio, have all announced they're going to deploy their state's National Guard troops to D.C. in the coming days, with up to 750 troops expected. This comes amid new reporting from NBC News that some National Guard troops deployed to D.C. will begin carrying firearms to conduct their missions in the city, according to 2 U.S. officials. D.C. Mayor Muriel Bowser shot back at Trump's crackdown on X, writing, "American soldiers and airmen policing American citizens on American soil is un-American." Joining us now is Christina Greer, Associate Professor of Political Science at Fordham University. So let's start out with, we have some harrowing footage. It is from the Washington Post that was released just an hour ago, and we want to warn viewers that this footage is disturbing. The footage shows unidentified federal agents who are violently detaining a food delivery driver as he emerged from a D.C. coffee shop yesterday morning. This incident was captured on video, and it shows the officers throwing him to the ground and beating him before sweeping him away in an unmarked vehicle. DHS has since identified him as a Venezuelan national who they say entered the country illegally in 2023 and was ordered removed by an immigration judge last year. So, Christina, what's your reaction to that footage?
Well, I mean, this is what Donald Trump promised the American people when he was campaigning for several months. He said that he would make sure he cleaned the streets and cleaned this country of these types of people. And
what types of people? People who are ordered to leave the country and who don't leave? That's what any of our presidents should do. Even though Biden was opening up the floodgates and indiscriminately letting people in, at some point when they're ordered to leave, are we still going to just be like, why have courts? Why have laws? And it isn't mean to enforce your borders. It's not illegal to enforce your borders. I just can't understand why that seems like such a hard concept for people to grasp and to honestly feel that the United States government is overstepping its boundaries in enforcing laws that have to do with our borders and protecting our citizens. Isn't that the priority? It sure doesn't seem like it. I don't know. It's like I'm in another reality or something. I don't get it. I've been hearing people coming from all angles, and I don't know. I'm kind of blown away. I thought that people who are in a position, of trying to do themselves better, trying to increase their quality of life, trying to live out their version of the American dream, I thought that people like that would be digging and fighting so hard for themselves that they wouldn't have time to raise their head up and go fight a fight for someone else when they are in need. And it's not the American way, and it's not goodwill, it's stupidity. No one can make you feel like a wonderful person for taking care of somebody else before you take care of yourself. And don't let them make you feel like you're of wonderful character or you're some kind of special soul. You're a fool if you take care of other people before you take care of yourself. If you can sit back and watch someone else's children and wife eat while yours are hungry and you are responsible for the eating going on over there. I mean, it's just common sense. And they teach us to do things that go completely against common sense and things that they don't do themselves. They expect a common American citizen to just go on along with it, and you can take it. They can't, but we can. And I think we're getting to the end of this. I think we should be all lightened up to the point where we got it. The light bulbs are coming on. Everybody's like, okay. I mean, you can't keep telling us the same thing again and again and again in a different way. And we're seeing what you tell us you can't do. And then from one administration to the next administration, you're doing things, just not for us, but that you said you couldn't do. We know you can do them. It's something. And she is a huge advocate for protecting whoever these National Guardsmen and military personnel are called in to get out of the city. If they got a guy who was asked to leave and he didn't leave, they got the right guy. What would your argument be? What would you take in front of a judge? Hey, judge, he was ordered to leave the country and he didn't. But other than that, he didn't break any other laws. What's the judge going to say? Oh, yeah, he can stay then. Then why give that order? Where does this stuff come from? It's terrible, but it really pains me to see this lady here fighting for this as hard as she is. And maybe she should be fighting to get those National Guardsmen out of D.C., but not because they're wrestling food truck workers who were ordered to leave the country down, and she's brushing over all of that. She should be discussing that, pinpointing that, and talking about that, and not as if this guy who's a food truck driver, not only is he here illegally, he's working illegally and in a very dangerous capacity. Food truck. People are consuming the food off of his truck, which obviously isn't regulated, obviously isn't following any laws or rules, regulations that vendors have to follow, because he's here illegally. There's no way he can have a license. Is it? Is it? I'm really wondering how far this is going to go. It's really starting to look like a civil war. The bullets haven't started being traded between the sides, but I believe that we're getting close to that.
There are however many millions of Americans that heard that message consistently month after month and still voted for it. And so we're obviously in an escalation phase. I think a lot of people are now getting very concerned about the abdication of Congress to the president. I think they're getting extremely concerned about the courts essentially saying, you do whatever you'd like, Donald Trump. We will just sit by and allow you to do it. And so these one-time rulings. And I think that we need to have some hard conversations about local politics and ground up support of making sure that, you know, some of the people who are your low-level city council members and state representatives who then become members of Congress or ultimately senators and governors, actually we need to start paying attention, make sure we get some of those people out of the pipeline and support other people within the pipeline so that when they're in the capacity to make these decisions, they make the right ones.
Christina, you mentioned something about the fact that the Trump campaign at the time made very clear what their intentions were, and, you know, people still supported that. In your estimation, as a political scientist, do you think that the response that we are seeing is more, I didn't believe that this was actually going to happen, or I didn't think it was going to happen the way it's happening? Meaning I didn't know that it was going to be as violent. I didn't know that it was going to be as in my face. I didn't know that it was going to involve National Guardsmen doing the job of local police departments.
Right.
Isn't it weird to hear a black man talking like that? Like when they've come in and done that shit to us in numerous cities on numerous occasions, and he's sitting here acting like we're foreign to what that looks like. We know exactly what that looks like. It's been done to us. And in a worse way, because we were on our own. They weren't divided. We were on our own. Whenever the National Guardsmen come in, no one was on TV debating whether it was a good or a bad thing. They were talking about the curfews and get your ass inside and get out the streets. But here they're actually debating if it's the right or the wrong. I really don't give a damn about any of that, but they actually debate whether it's a good thing or a bad thing to do. What do you think? What kind of shit is that? Ain't the police, they beat that shit into us to where we have a higher regard and level of respect for police than most people do because our lives depend on it. And then they go and show us that they didn't really mean it. It just was meant for us. For everybody else, they can't be policed. They can't be treated by police officers, military, National Guard, and the like us. because they've never complained about the way the military has done us, the way the police departments have done us, but they're complaining now. I find that odd. I find that very odd.
And for some people, the third part is I didn't think it would involve me, right? Or affect me in any way. I think it's all of the above, because this isn't the first term of Donald Trump. And so we saw the first term, he didn't know much about Washington, D.C. He didn't have many allies. He didn't know, how to turn on the lights realistically. And so what so many Democrats, and black women in particular specifically, said for the second time around, it's that he was casing the joint the first time. He knows where everything is this time, and he is making promises that he can actually fulfill this time, because he actually does understand now a little bit more about executive orders. He actually does understand a little bit more about Congress and the courts. And there are a few times that
a little bit more. He is killing it this time. And he was set up with the supermajority that he's utilizing effectively. He's keeping them together. The Democrats are kind of like, damn, we could never do that. We could never stay together and vote shit in and vote shit out and get our agendas pushed. And some of us hold our nose and vote anyway. We could never do that. Never. The Democratic Party is obviously farther apart as a party than the Republican Party. And they try to make us feel like we're not, and we are. We got people in this huge segments of the Democratic Party that are just flat out being disrespected and ignored. Just straight out by that party. And everybody know it. It's an open secret. And then they got nerve to get on TV and worry about the National Guard going into D.C. and 3 other states sending National Guards in to help, as if whatever the federal government sent wasn't enough. It sent extra, and as a show of support. Let that sink in. This is really getting heated. But these police departments, are they going to turn and defend their citizens and illegal immigrants against the federal militia that's coming in? Or are they gonna stand with the federal cops, National Guard, whoever Trump sends? And they say they're getting people from behind desk. Now they're slipping it out there like, well, some of the National Guards will be carrying guns. Well, why wouldn't they be? You're in an area that's the reason you're there, because of gun violence and bad areas and all of that. I can't say that Trump's plan is a good idea. I can't say that it's going to be successful or fail or any of that stuff. But it's so hard for me to hear the Democrats complain about it and whine about it and act like he's just some authoritarian God who's going to come in and yank out illegal immigrants and bad guys. And whatever he does, it's because you guys didn't do it. You guys didn't come up with an idea that works. So when he got in office, or any other presidents, they could just follow a plan that you laid out. Look in the major cities in the United States. Are they gang free? Are they violence free? Are they crime free? Or are they living in elevated amounts? Elevated amounts. And these are democratically run cities. So what is the deal? The Republicans have their issues as well. But what I'm saying is, the president of the United States is marching troops into democratically run cities just to make you guys look bad and to expose your homelessness, expose the overflooding of illegal immigration, to expose all that stuff and try to win the narrative back and get people to quit talking about whatever it is they've been talking about for the last couple of months. He's ready to get to a new news cycle. He's ready to, negotiate with Putin, send National Guards in. You might see him in front of the White House breakdancing. He's got to get the spotlight off of that other stuff the Epstein distraction and get things away from that. And he's doing some shit, and the Democrats are acting like this is foreign and new. And these black people are sitting up here acting like you didn't think we'd be right in the midst of, we've been on the midst of this shit and are still. If I was living in DC, I'd be very, very concerned. I would be very worried about how these National Guards are going to engage me as a black person, as opposed to the illegal immigrants. The illegal immigrants is as if they put them in the police training room and said, hey, don't you guys go out there and kill none of those people, and don't be violating no rights, and don't be doing too much strong arming. That incident they showed him beating the food guy up, that wasn't the whole story. Did the guy try to run? Did the guy fight back? Who knows? But they reported, based on the part of the video that we saw, that the federal agents were beating a food, sounded like the aggressor was the federal agents and the victim was the food truck driver. And I'm like, wow, I can't remember ever with them seeing just that much footage, them being that definite about what happened when it was a black man. They can always tell you, well, he's guilty until proven innocent, but the way they were wailing on him, he had to have done something. Or, they insinuate that there's something we just ain't seen yet. That could be the same case with that. And it might not be. But the one thing that we have seen is that he was asked to leave. If I was asked to leave a country and I decided to stay, and a year or 2 or 3 later, their police catch up with me and slam my head to the concrete and put the boot in the middle of my back, they do that shit to American citizens. I'm an illegal immigrant who refused to leave a country, and I'm getting the treatment that they give their own citizens. So it ain't like you could say, man, don't go to America. They kick immigration or illegal immigrants' asses. They don't. They kick everybody's asses who they don't like. And if you're black, you in that list. But illegal immigrants right now have advocates. They have people in the legal field, in the law enforcement, in government. They have advocates. It's a whole different world, this movement they're going through. And then they got black people who could be up there speaking for black people, and they're up there speaking on something else that they shouldn't be speaking on because it weakens our argument and our fight for ourselves. Because if we got so much room to be pulling and tugging for somebody else, what does that say about us? We good? Is that what that's saying?
But there were some Republicans who said, sir, that's a bridge too far. I'm actually not going to do that because it's illegal. And so he's now realized he doesn't even have any of those people in his orbit. He has sycophants who are saying, listen, if you want it, if you like it, I love it, right? And so it doesn't matter if it's legal. And so the law is just a mere suggestion. And so this is what he did promise, and he's figuring out ways to actually enact on it.
What do you make of the way that Muriel Bowser has, the mayor in D.C., has navigated all of this? At times, she's pushed back. You just saw that tweet a moment ago, calling all this un-American. But in other ways, she's also said that she's willing to collaborate with federal partners. She's been very careful in how she chooses her words at press conferences. Right. And then, of course, people were angry with her for going to Martha's Vineyard for a moment to pick up her daughter. How do you see her role in all this? As so many people, as you just spelled out, they're looking to their local representation to show them the fight. Is she doing enough?
Right. And so when we were together the other night, and I said, the second hardest job is mayor of New York City. The hardest job is the presidency. But LBJ was very clear that the hardest job in America is being a mayor of a major city. She's in a very difficult position because there's descriptive representation. She is a black woman as an executive. So we know already Donald Trump just sees red, and it makes him very.
Ain't y'all tired of that? I mean, I really am, because it gives black people that I have been encountering lately the impression that Trump has like this disdain for black people that goes above anything else. Now, a lot of people who have been in Trump's orbit have said that he has some racial and racist type tendencies. That could be all true, but I don't want anybody to try to have us feel that he's sending the National Guard in for those illegal immigrants, and yeah, he's doing this, but he really hates you guys. Like, we don't need that. We know how much we're hated and disliked, but the people who are saying it, they ain't proving they got too much love for us either. That's what's pissing me off. It's easy for the Democrats to point, look at him, look what he said, look what he did, look how he act. He trying to take your things out of museums. They need to take black shit out of museums that are run by white people. A white person should never be able to shut down a museum or an educational institution where black people are learning or getting their information as far as education of artifacts or whatever in a library. I mean, in a museum, library, books, schools, colleges. When you know that the people have treated you the way they have treated you, and you still allow them to have control over things that you can just stand back and say, see, look, he's trying to take stuff out of the museum. Let him take it. He need to. They need to take shit out of all them museums and send it back to where it came from. It's a damn shame. And if it's some African American derived shit, the Americans, the blacks, the people who have more of a stake in this country than most people, and more of a history in this country than most people, if it's up to us to stand up, and it is up to us to stand up and take our shit back. And if they want to keep some physical artifacts or whatever, that's all good. We are still living, thriving, and can reproduce anything that they got that we made. That what they have is the end of what they'll get, but we need to move on and not continue to beg Donald Trump and future presidents, even though we might feel as a whole that we were more on the same page with Biden. We really weren't. Joe Biden didn't do anything that elevated black people. He knows our position. He knows our loyalty to that party. He knows the importance of our votes and support for him. And what does he do? He get in there and do shit for us, but give us a few black people symbolically, and that's supposed to do it. Ketanji Brown, Kamala Harris. What are we supposed to do with that? I mean, what is it translated into? It hasn't translated into the shit. And then these people get on and they whine and cry about these because they know these National Guards. And when these people come, they ain't with that bullshit. They ain't come in there and fuck you up. For real. And they know it because they know what has happened to us. We know firsthand. And they want to sit here and pretend that these people are about to undergo what we have. They're not, because they have advocates, they have help, and plenty of it. And people who are only placed in certain positions to speak what they're told or what's acceptable for them to speak. And this is what the answer is. This is what is acceptable for a black person on a MSNBC show to be talking about on a weekend show. This is what they need to be talking about. But then they'll flare up in a minute and tell you how much Trump hates black people. Oh, she's a black female mayor of a major American city. Ooh, he just sees red when he sees that. Well, if he just sees red when he sees that, then why ain't you doing more to advocate for that black mayor and people like her, as opposed to worrying about the illegal immigrants who've been asked to leave? You've been asked to leave and they drag your ass out of a truck and make sure you leave. What can you say? Wow, that was messed up. Man, they didn't have to be that rough on him. But then he could have left too. I mean, not saying that they should be beating people up, but damn, you give an opportunity to leave, you really should go. When the judge, that means you went to court and the judge said, no, you got to go. Everybody don't get to stay. That's the problem. The Democrats are acting like If you make it in, you're in. You're a neighbor, you're a friend, you're family, you're a coworker. That's not the way it works. Absolutely not. We need these companies to pay what wages are normally and should be. So when American citizens go in and work in these fields and in these different areas, they don't get shorted because I'm just get a legal immigrant. Well, you can't, or you shouldn't be able to. Should be some damn standards. And these black people who are commentating on something that has directly happened to us need to be reminiscing and reliving some shit and letting everybody know what we went through, and that, we understand what it's like to have the National Guard turned on you without no breaks, without nobody, advocating and passing by, hey, you guys keep your hands off those blacks over. No, we didn't see none of that. And they're looking at this beatdown that occurred. And even when it's a black man being beaten up, you always hear that one reporter who says some shit like, well, we only saw the last 30 seconds of the film. We would have to see what he did before that kind of shit. Just give the police the benefit of the doubt. But now it's confusing to so many because the police are being scrutinized for being rough and enforcing the laws of the United States on these illegal immigrants. And then the other police are being supported for opposing those police. This is going to heat up. It really is. But it's going to be very violent. There's going to be a lot of shit going on in small pockets because we have city leaders openly opposing aid, help, the presence of federal police officers ordered by the president of the United States. I don't know what to say. I mean, if I was a mayor of a city and Trump sent the National Guards in, I would be either highly flattered or very embarrassed. There's no in between on that. Either you're flattered because there's nothing you could do, you're doing the best you can do, and it might be just a resource issue. And if he sends in people, I'd be flattered and appreciative that he sent them in to help me, get rid of this problem that I'm having. And if it's just something that how you roll your city, if that's just how it is, then I'd be embarrassed to know that accepting those standards are okay. And everybody say that the crime rate's on the down by like almost 30%. So it don't seem like a real good time to be rolling them in there anyway, unless these ICE agents are going in with the intention of getting illegal immigrants out. If that's what they're in there for, then that's what they've been starting off with. I just don't want this illegal immigrant chase, and I've said this many times, to morph into us, to where they get off the illegal immigrants, and then the next thing you know, we see black men being pushed up against police cars by National Guardsmen and federal agents, and then you'll see the city cops stop disagreeing with them so much. And that's the sick part.
Angry whenever he sees leadership that is not white and male because he does not believe in diversity, equity, or inclusion. He said that. The second part is because of the structure of Washington, D.C. and home rule, and was put in place in 1973, and there's this kind of shared structure.
I'm sorry, but can I just see real quick, by a show of hands, who really believes that the Democrats believe in diversity, equity, and inclusion? Yeah. Who believe that shit? Do y'all really believe that? Can you show me in the comments just why, if you do? Because the reason I want to know this and how many of us, how we feel about this, is because it's just straight bullshit. And I think everybody knows it. DEI and the Democrats care more about it than if they do, why don't they really pick the best black people for some of these jobs? Why do they only pick the black people they can work with? Why do they only pick the black people who agree with them or who accept their view as opposed to having their own way of looking at things, their own perspective? Isn't that weird? And they like diversity, equity, and inclusion. But when you're black and you're in a position where you can invite that in, The Democrats want nothing to do with diversity, equity, and inclusion. Just like we could pass a whole lot of stuff when we're in the majority, but they fight amongst themselves because we have a very big part of our Democratic Party that is not very different than the Republicans. In fact, they see eye to eye with the Republicans more than they do with some of the Democrats. And those Democrats are what's holding us up in some ways, but not in every way. Some of the Democrats who we are close to, the ones who we like a lot, don't see eye to eye with us on a whole lot of things because it would spend way too much political capital to ever do anything for us. If they ever do anything for us, bridges will be burnt. I think they said something like that happened in 1964 in order to get our voting rights. Some of the senators knew they wouldn't win their seats back because they voted for that. It was like a bad piece of legislation at the time. But they basically gave up their seats to vote for that legislation to give black people the right to vote. Okay? And they have benefited long enough from that. We paid them back, or whatever the fuck you want to say. Okay, we good. Now let's start voting strategically. Now let's make our votes count. No more giving them back nothing. We don't want them shit. We don't want them anything. And we need to stop acting like we do. And we need to stop acting like the votes that we've been giving them have been reciprocated or like we've been getting something for it. And not these people who they put in places. Look at the expression on this lady's face. She is highly upset. I would love to find her speaking on some police brutality that happened to black people and see how deeply rooted she was in that fight. Or is this something that she's been sent out to do? Who's directing this lady? And who's directing any black people who are so heavily caught up in this ice on the streets when it's happened before? We shouldn't be any madder now than we have been before. We've seen this shit directed at us. So why would it bother us so much now when it didn't bother us so much then? We accepted it. We felt like it was, we was tripping. Yeah, okay. We can accept the fact that they sent the National fucking Guard in. Most cases, people ain't even tripping. Hey, the news is reporting like it's just the set of instructions of the day, and this is just how shit go. All citizens are asked to be in their residence by 8 p.m. Yes, an 8 p.m. curfew is being imposed in the city of Los Angeles. Y'all remember that shit? The city of LA. We got to go in the house at 8 o'clock. We didn't know, but that's at your own risk. Now, shit, I'll be in the house, fuck all that shit. I mean, I was young and shit, but now, man, forget that. Go home, be safe. But it's just not right for people to act like this is it is new and it is different, but they won't be honest and admit why. They're acting like this is some unprecedented shit, and it isn't, except that these people have help. That's the twist. And it gives them hope. And it gives them an idea that even though courts are making rulings, you're encouraging these illegal immigrants to buck the system, to ignore our laws. Whether you like the laws or not, they are the laws. You have to obey them. You have to go in that direction, or you are guilty of tearing the democracy apart. If lawlessness only counts when Donald Trump does it, but when Democrats break the laws, that's different because it's the right thing to do. That's fucked up.
They don't have senators that they can rely on. They don't have a governor that they can call on. There is this relationship with the federal government. She's in a very difficult position because they are essentially in the same home in some ways. I think some D.C. residents want a lot more than a tweet that says this is un-American. Some D.C. residents recognize, well, what is she to do? There is no one essentially higher than her. You know, Eleanor Holmes Norton, who's the representative in Congress, doesn't even have a vote. So I think it's a position that is incredibly difficult descriptively as a black woman, substantively as a Democrat, dealing with a Republican president who is very clear that he wants sort of Washington, D.C. And we know that crime is a proxy.
The only time you should point out the fact, for the sake of argument, that she is a black woman, the mayor of a city, and a Democrat, or whatever the hell else you want to throw in there after that. But once you lead with black woman, but you can't tell me that she's fighting for a black issue, she's not fighting for something that's going to benefit black women or black people, then what are we talking about? What is exactly going on here? Why is it so important that you bring out her race and her gender and her whatever the hell else, even her party? None of that stuff has to do with what's going on here. Donald Trump is enforcing the laws of the United States. If and when the Democrats get in a majority, maybe they'll take it a little more seriously. Maybe they won't just leave the border open and allow millions and millions to flood in, thinking that they're going to win the next election. What kind of dumbass politics is that? What kind of way to govern is that? Oh, we thought we was going to win, so we just fucked the country up. Just opened the gates and let more people in this country financially, economically, and logistically can handle. That's the fact. And because people in this country don't want to do the kind of work that the illegal immigrants are coming in to do, is because these billion-dollar corporations are going to cheat them and not pay them right and make them do manual labor where the risk of injury is high and the payout is low. And to harm yourself where you can't even work at all at any capacity or in a physical capacity at least is a scary thought. And if you're a legal immigrant or just a underemployed person, you can be underemployed, but the employment should be as good as it can be, not just what the employer wants to pay and padding his pockets and thinking of his profits and the things he has to do to run a successful business, but not thinking about what these people need to do to run their households. And to come over here and not be able to become citizens for so damn long. I mean, what's wrong with the United States? You want the people to stay illegal immigrants, it seems. I mean, goddamn, give them a path to this shit so that you could bring some of that down, and the threat of deportation will help. There's no way we're going to ever make a real serious dent in this with physical deportation. So there has to be other ways, and giving some citizenship might be one of them, I guess.
For African Americans, we know that Washington, D.C. is a majority black city. And so he can sort of say all this coded, not coded language when he's talking about cleaning up the streets. And I think everyone in D.C. knows what that is. And so, thinking about growing up as a black person in young cities, a lot of black communities are both under-policed and over-policed simultaneously. And so they do want to have safe streets.
Under-policed and over-policed simultaneously? I'm not sure I got that one, the under-police part, because I've lived in my share of black communities, and I've never lived in a black community that was under-policed. The police presence is overrepresented. You see police more than you should, on quiet residential blocks, just driving down the street, patrolling, residential neighborhoods that heavily and that frequently. Under-policed and over-policed at the same time. That was an interesting line, and it don't make no goddamn sense either, and she know it don't.
It's a major city. It's not devoid of crime, but they don't want hyper over policing where they're afraid to actually walk down the street. And when you've got 750 new people who come in who don't know Washington, D.C., they don't know the culture of Washington, D.C., they don't even know the streets of Washington, D.C., that puts a lot of families much more on edge because they wonder what their children are going to feel.
But they don't care when illegal immigrants come in, though. And what are their children going to feel? And there's more than 750 of them. So if we're not concerned how our children and how our communities are going to be impacted by illegal immigrants coming into the community. Why in the hell should we be worried about some National Guardsmen? Aren't they our friends? Shouldn't they be there for us? How can you call them bad in one breath, and then when they call on black people, they're good? I mean, it just don't make no goddamn sense. And anybody who take a few steps back from this conversation and look at it should be able to see what's going on here. And those two black people were strategically placed there to say things that those other people at the table couldn't say convincingly or without busting out laughing.
Always an important conversation, particularly when you're highlighting the differences and nuances of how race, gender, and everything else, individual culture, plays into everything that's unfolding, not only in D.C., but potentially in cities that are also being targeted by Donald Trump in this way. Dr. Christina Greer, thank you for being with us.
Yeah, Trump can target whatever the hell he wants. I don't feel like black people in any city in the United States where they live in large groups are not being targeted. So because we're being targeted by the local cops and all their resources and money and meanness and shit go to us. And now they got another issue going on with this illegal immigration. And in order to be able to satisfy that, especially when you have the city cops who are not willing to deport, not willing to turn them over after they arrest them, not willing to work with the federal government in enforcing any of that. So then they have to send their own guys in. So the city cops are cool with cracking down on us and extraditing us and giving us a lot of time and all that. But don't it just seem kind of weird that it's almost a protective layer that we don't enjoy? I'm trying to rationalize it and I can't. It makes no sense. It makes absolutely no sense. The difference in black people and illegal immigrants is that we are citizens of the United States of America. And as citizens of the United States of America, somebody from one of these parties should say what I'm saying and show us that we are citizens of the United States as black people. And we can't be deported and we can't be intimidated and we can't be discriminated against like you guys are doing anymore. That the time has come to give us our just due. Hook us up by leaving us alone. Give us some space to grow. And I'm sure we'll be fine. But we cannot have our black people advocating so hard and stomping so hard. That's a majority black city, D.C. That's Black City, Chocolate City over there. And they got these people more concerned about a food truck driver who got snatched out who was told to leave the country. I'd be more concerned about the black people that could be affected by those people roaming around, those extra policemen or National Guardsmen or whoever else they got. That's not what they're trained to do. But because Trump has insisted on it and everything, and because the crime rate in these cities is unacceptable, then they got to accept it. But we don't. We ain't got to accept it. We've been already accepting it, and they never complained about our level of pressure and policing that we had to endure. But that same level of energy, maybe a little more, maybe a little less, come in for another group and they crying holy murder because it ain't the blacks. These people don't deserve that. They're just hardworking people trying to make it. Like, comment, share. Please subscribe. We'll see you on the next Black Popcorn.